Welcome back. Another Down and Back with CornDoug here. Big news this week. A lot of news coming out this week. A lot of stuff. Some stuff is just kind of was put out before. We're now put out back again, and yeah. So it's kind of getting, I don't want to say rehashed, but it's kind of rehashed. So there's that. First off, though, on the show this week. Great show. A show, as I tell him, we're like almost 2 years in the making. JD Welch from 6x6bags.com will be here to talk a lot of technical stuff about bags. Just not throwing them, just what all goes into the bag testing and what you'll find on his site. Great guy, and happy to finally have him on the show. Have to have him back again soon. We talk about that more on the show. But anyway, news that's going on. So right now in Ontario here, if you're listening or watching, whatever, in Ontario here, thanks for doing that. Make sure you subscribe. Where is it? Subscribe on this side. I think the thumbs up is right over here. Make a thumbs up. Then down below, look way down. For some, you can't remember, look down, look way down. Make a comment on the show. Good, bad, otherwise. Mark Taft, I will be getting that stuff out to you for the comment from the last show. That's that. Same with Graham. COVID kind of hit there. But anyway, stuff going on in Ontario. Bsck, Southern Ontario Cornhole Series. We are getting back underway. A lot of games going on this weekend. I know the guys in Essex are going somewhere. The guys in Kitchener are going somewhere. Yeah, so there's a lot of games. Check out the Bsck Facebook page for more info on that. Then everything that was kind of rehashed earlier in the week. The conference championships. I had that up, but I don't have it up anymore. But what it's going to be, it will be in August, September of 2022. We will have, it will not be, for anyone who's already asked and nervous about it, it will not be the same time as the World Finals in Rock Hill, because some of us who will be in Rock Hill will also want to play in the conference championships. So, that being that, it will not be the same weekend. It will be a different weekend. Could it possibly be in a weekend where another pro event is going on somewhere else that I can't talk about? That maybe in a few weeks. Teaser. It might be going on then. Who knows? But anyway, it'll be a conference championship. Top 100 in the conference will be in there. So it will also be in the West, the Prairies, Central, and the Maritimes will be having their own events. Now, West and Prairies. A little bit of an issue with that there is we had a conference director out in that area. For some personal reasons, they couldn't fulfill that there with being the conference director, which is fine, cool. Hey, it's what you maybe in a later date. Who knows when it's better for you. So if you're in that area and you're like, hey, I want to be a conference director, contact the ACL Canada. Contact Todd. Let him know that you are interested. And we can go from there and be able to get some stuff out there, because we all know if you're not playing ACL, what are you playing, really? That. So, getting back to it. So, top 100 players in each conference will play off in a little tournament style. You will get free entry into a blind draw. You will be eligible for singles and doubles play. You get an ACL jersey. This isn't an ACL jersey. It's the perfect octane jersey. But you'll get a jersey, a shirt, and then you'll also be entered into, wait for it, a pro qualifier tournament where the winner will automatically be a ACL Canada Pro. I'm not sure just all the qualifications other than that there. So, again, teaser that. We'll talk about that on a later show coming up, possibly, because there's a lot of big things going on that within the ACL Canada, we're exploding here, and that will be coming up on a later show. A lot of info coming out there, and then the other teaser we heard about it a couple weeks ago. Mr. Trey Ryder told you keep your calendars open. It's here. It's here, April 29th 30th, May 1st, Niagara Falls Convention Center. I feel like I'm doing a promo for next week. Anyway, more on that later. Niagara Falls Convention Center, Niagara Falls, Ontario. It's here. The ACL Canadian Open. It's going to be a fun weekend. 3 days jam-packed of cornhole. Really. What else do you want? A lot of fun stuff. It'll be a regular open event. Blind draws, doubles, singles, whatever. There will also be a pro event where, come on, if you're in Canada, you're in Western New York, come out because there will be some pros coming up from the States. You'll be able to see them play live in person, get a chance to talk with them, hang out, maybe even get to play a cash game if you want to give up some cash to some of the pros, or if you think you can beat a pro. Anyway, you can give it there. So there's that. So there'll be a pro event as well coming up. Can't give. That's all I know so far. That's all I know so far. Again, teaser coming up on the show soon. We'll talk all about that. Talk about all the stuff that's going on with ACL Canada, because it's what I'm kind of getting in the ear. What's coming in the earfun earbuds. MyEarfun.com. Discount code CornDoug gets you 20% off of something. I'm hearing something in my earbuds that are just daily stuff coming out, and it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. There's just so much stuff that's coming that will be great. So yeah, Niagara Falls Convention Center, April 29th, 30th, May 1st. The first ACL Open outside of the U.S. How about that? Coming to Canada, right here to Ontario. I know I've already been talking to people. Got people coming, possibly people in BC coming here to play. I know Cornhole Newfoundland, Sean and Amber, I think they have a plane load coming, which kind of scares, because I'm not sure. Just I know how those people can be, and may not get any sleep that weekend. I just from past experience, may not remember stuff on the Monday. But yeah, so it'll be fun having Sean and Amber and that crew coming. Just because they've been kind of in with themselves. They haven't had the chance to play outside of Newfoundland other than the virtual stuff. So it'll be great to see some of them. Hopefully some of the greats of Cornhole Newfoundland, Albert Parsons, Dion Kuza, Graham Kavanaugh, Evely coming. Say Sean. The reigning ACL International Director of the Year, Sean Sabine, which should be Amber Rogers. We all know that. But yeah, so they'll all be here. So it'll be a fun weekend of cornhole. I can't wait. Few other guests to be coming up. We will be live streaming it. I will be live. You'll be hearing my voice a lot that weekend. I'm not sure if I'll be playing too much. I do have some other celebrity friends to come up and work the live streams with me. So that will be a lot of fun. And there will be a lot of octane bags thrown that weekend. And if you need to get some octane bags, look no further than octanecornhole.com. Use discount code CornDoug to get you 10% off of bags to use there. You can get your own custom bags. 10% off of that. Be fantastic. That, and then and if you need to practice, go to jccornhole.com. Talk to Jamie. He's back from Vegas. He's recovered. I was watching him in the shop work the other night. He's getting boards are just pumping out like crazy. Talk to him. He'll get you a fantastic set of boards. Tell him you might know me. You might get some sort of discount off. We don't know. We've already talked about the earfun. MyEarfun.com. Discount code CornDoug gets you 20% off there. Then if you don't want to throw octane bags in Niagara and you're in Canada and you're thinking, I want local bags. I want all cornhole bags. I want fire bags. I want to throw fire. I want to be like Matt Guy. I want to be like Jamie Graham. I want to be like Eric Davis. and that other Brett guy. Yeah. CSCcornhole.com. They bring the bags to Canada for you. They pay the duty, and then you pay in Canadian dollars. There's no other trying to figure out what you need to owe for the exchange or whatever. Get them all there. It's easy. CSCcornhole.com. And then if you're in the Edmonton area, I know there's some Edmonton Cornhole League. I see you. I've seen you on Instagram. I've seen you on social media. You guys, cold-blooded cornhole as well. See, I got it that time. Check out Sierra Property Inspections. It's coming up right there. Look at that right there. If you're watching a video, SierraHome.com. Talk to Darren. He will help you out with all of your home inspection needs. Whatever you need, Darren will come out and help you look at it, let you know what you need to do. And as I kind of teased on Instagram, there's something pretty cool coming up. Maybe within the next couple of weeks or so, he will be making an appearance on here. We'll be doing something, and he will be talking about some great stuff. So that's that. I think no more need talking with me. We'll have some big news coming out again next week, some more on all of the stuff that's going down within Canada and the ACL Canada, because that is the place to play cornhole. There's no other place you need to be than ACL Canada. Let's talk some bags. Here is my talk with, like I said, the anticipated talk with 6x6bags.com. All your bag data will be coming right here with Mr. JD Welch. And here we are, as promised, we are here with JD Welch from 6x6 Cornhole Bag Data. How you doing, JD?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good yourself?
Not too bad. As we kind of talked off here, this show has been like a year and a half in the making. That we've been kind of talking about doing some sort of collaboration here.
Yeah, no, we originally talked on Bags Talk, the Facebook page when it first started. I remember just sitting there. I think I was watching TV, and Greg Barr was like, "Hey, we're talking about you. Get on here real quick." So I jumped on, and so we first got to meet and met a couple other pretty cool people on there that I've kind of stayed in touch with over the year. But yeah, fun. It's nice knowing, having that connection. I knew that you had a podcast, and it said trying to find a time to really connect, and I was like, I just need to make this happen because we said we would.
Well, I know for that. I know that. I remember that day perfectly because sitting in that chat gave me something to do while my kid was at hockey practice. I just sat out in the car and just talked cornhole. It was so much better than dealing with some of the other parents that I don't like dealing with. But whatever, get out of that there because I know there's even more cornhole people that are almost like that too. But whatever. So the idea was 6x6. How'd you come up with that?
Yeah, so we were in the league one day. It was when we first started, and we were just looking at different bags from different manufacturers and talking speeds of the bags. And people were like, "Hey, this bag's a 5 and a 9," and then there's another manufacturer had a bag that was a 5 and a 9. We're throwing them this isn't working right. These 5s aren't the same, these 9s aren't the same, and I just I know enough in some things to get myself in trouble. So I knew how to do some physics stuff, understood the basics of doing research from going to school. And I was like, I can do this. I can figure out how to standardize speed, and then get all these other metrics for people so that they can buy bags. But yeah, it was purely just sitting in the league going these don't make sense to me. How do I do this myself to make sense and truly make bags equal to each other?
So what sort of process then do you put the bags through for your testing purposes?
Yeah, at the moment we only test bags brand new. It's the only way to guarantee from the manufacturer. Whatever state I get them in is what I call brand new, and it's the only way I can guarantee that all bags are the exact same. I know the bags can change when they break in. I've done some break-in studies, a study on the page. For BG Mercenaries, where I broke in 4 bags. I had a standardized a control for each bag, and then the testing methods, the break-in methods afterwards. And I know that the speeds and the flop and those things change, but I haven't been able to find a way to standardize how a bag is broken in. It's later on the road. But yeah, so we do the speed of the bags, which we use we measure the coefficient of friction of the fabric. And then through some back end math stuff, we get a value from 0 to 10, and that's our speed scale is 0 to 10. We then also have a flop value, which is like the looseness of the bag, or how likely, like how easy it is to like bend or fold, or like the move on a board. Like if it's like a high flop value, it's one that like hit the board and kind of like work its way between some bags, or more likely to fall in the hole. Where a lower flop bag, or a less loose or less floppy bag, is one that's just gonna like stick and like kind of create like traffic jams and stuff. We do the flop. We have the width. We do like the horizontal and vertical widths of the bag. We do the weight of the bag, the bag thickness, so actually like what the actual thickness of the bag is, and then the last one is the corner roundness or corner radius. So a lot of the things were based off of bag regulation measurements from the ACL. I felt like that's a great place to start. Like these are all supposed to be regulated, so I wanted to measure them to see how well they did or didn't actually meet the regulations according to what I measure. And I don't know exactly how they measure them, but I know that I feel like I've done a pretty good way of like standardizing it, and that's the consistent way every single time.
Yeah, I know. I hopefully the octane bags get all the same weight for me, because when I do it, Matt gives me shit sometimes, but whatever. Hopefully I get it all done right. I know I throw a couple little CornDougs with each one for anyone who throws octane bags. You throw it short, you got to thank us. but I know. Talking about the speed of bags, that's always the one thing that people always say, all these bags are too fast for me or whatever. But I would say that would be the hardest thing to do, because the speed really depends on the angle the person's throwing. If they're throwing like the line drive throws, the bag's going to look faster. You get the arc, the bag may not be as fast on the board. And then depending on the board conditions, that's going to be one of the hardest ones.
No, it is, and those are all factors that come into play for each individual person, right? So like all of our bags and like the fabrics and stuff are measured the exact same way, right? Like we standardize temperature, we standardize humidity. I have like created this device that measures it the exact same every single time. Like I've done as much as I can to eliminate my impact on the measurements. So with that, it should give everyone like a standardized, or just like a baseline, right? Like I have measured this bag at like a 5, but we also have that range. So you can say like if somebody's throwing it a little lower, like the low bag, it'll show that there's a faster end. But if somebody has a higher arc, there's also the lower end. But there is like, is it like play style comes into it, like boards, like temperature and humidity you're playing in come into it. So it's always like the speeds that we have are a baseline for somebody to gauge where a bag, or how a bag will compare to another bag in that same environment or for that play style. So yeah, like we could both play with a 5, and if I have a higher arc, that's going to be a super slow bag for me. But if you just line drive them in, it may be too fast for you, and you need something with like a more of a micro suede compared to just like a canvas or something like that.
Yeah, because I've seen a bunch of guys here saying, "Oh, these bags are too fast," and I'm like, "Okay, try throwing them like more than 2 feet off the ground. They're not going to zip off the back as much." Yeah. So then the other thing, and I've talked with and I can really relate to Octane, seeing how the stuff is done there. But every time I go up to shop, Matt's always got some sort of video on of someone doing something with bags. So the one thing we had talked about the one time was, how do you control the same temperature, or if you're doing temperature, how do you control the same temperature throughout the whole process of testing every bag?
This thing tells me. I sit here in our office, I put this down on the desk, I turn on the heater, turn on the air conditioner, I have a humidifier. Like I have things that allow me to control the environment in this office so that I can guarantee that its bags are always measured at 70 degrees plus or minus 2 degrees, and at 50% humidity plus or minus, I think it's like 2 or 3% up or down. So it is super controlled. Like if I'm sitting here and it goes above that threshold, I walk out, I turn the heater on a little bit, like whatever it is I need to do to bring those environmental factors back down to where they need to be for the testing situation.
Yeah, because that was like I said, that was always the thing he would say, like, these, you see videos of some people making that are like hour or so long, and they're like, how do you keep it in a big room? How do you keep that everything just so exactly the same to it the whole time? But it's got to be almost, I don't want to say impossible, but just hard to keep that control all the time.
It is difficult. It has actually been very difficult. Like back in the winter, I had gotten that little personal pod that I was going to actually start doing all my testing in, and I'd like stick the heater and a dehumidifier in there, and I'd get it to that right temperature and everything, and even below, and I'd get in, and just me being in there, breathing, sweating, whatever it was, the temperature would skyrocket and the humidity would skyrocket, and really quickly, I was like, cool, this thing is going to be used for like if we need a change or if we're like trying to control something even more, that's what we'll use it. And I realized like our office is big enough that there's enough like air volume that me being in here doesn't impact it nearly as much. So like the temperature does go up a little bit, the humidity does go up, but we have like a window so I can open it up to like drop the temperature really quickly, or there's at least that transfer of energy. So if it's hotter in here, it'll cool it off. It's like a radiator. Like I'm doing everything, is like doing all I can to make sure that it's super controlled in here. But yeah, it's difficult. It is like, oh man, I broke that threshold. All right, I got to peace out for 20 minutes until it goes back down. And my little thermometer's got an app on my phone, so I can at least look and be like, okay, cool, it's good. I can go back in and start testing again.
Well, as a guy that works in a hockey rink and trying to make ice in the summer, I know your pain of trying to keep everything at that temperature that you need to be, because it can suck sometimes.
Yes, it is a struggle sometimes. Conveniently in Oregon, like the humidity inside is always like 65, so I crank up the heater, and by the time it gets to 70, the humidity is down to about 50%. So it's like this perfect balance. But winter's gonna hit, or summer's gonna hit, and it's gonna be me sticking my humidifier in here with my AC, which they both dehumidify at the same, or one. The AC dehumidifies, so I was like, no, I just want it to cool down, but I want the humidity to go up, so it's going to be a battle in the summer.
Yeah. So not to kind of keep going on the speed stuff or on the fast or whatever, because I've seen it as well too, where you got guys trying to do their own home tests, I guess you can call it, of putting the bags on top of the boards and lifting that board up to say which one is, look how much fast this is. And I've seen some people doing it where you have that as I've seen with Jamie Cowan with his JC Cornhole boards, when he's checking his boards, he'll do that slow lift of the board just to see where they start going, which I think is probably the right test for that there if you're doing that there. But you see some guys that are just to go to test it, and they're just lifting the board up right quick, and you're like, okay, yeah, the bag is going to be fast if you're like basically tossing the bags off the boards.
Yeah, that's like the hard part. So anything that has friction, actually, there's two states of friction, or like that something can be in. There's static friction and kinetic friction. And static friction is what it sounds like. Something is just sitting in one spot, and then it'll slide once there's enough like energy or enough gravity to pull it to break its static coefficient of friction. And then there's another one, which is the kinetic coefficient of friction. The hard part of like when people do the test where they just lift up a board or put something on an incline until it starts moving, two bags can have two different states of static friction, which means that one bag can break loose before the other bag. And that's all you're testing, right? Like, oh, we're going to lift it up to see how high of an angle it'll get before one bag starts sliding. You're like, cool. You now know how hard it is to push a bag.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole point, right? Like the static friction is like if a bag is sitting still on a board, in that static that for us it's like the stationary speed. If that stationary speed is really low, that means it's going to be really hard to push that bag. And then we have our like standard speed that we talk about, and that's the kinetic speed of the bag that's sliding, which I found is the actual like ubiquitous, like universal language of like what's the speed of a bag. It's a bag when you're throwing it. It's how fast it slides up a board. Or technically it's how slow does a bag slow down, or how fast does a bag slow down going up a board, which is a weird way to put it. But like how much distance does it take the bag to go from moving to stopped? And that's the kinetic coefficient of friction. So the lower the value for the kinetic coefficient of friction, the shorter the distance. The higher the value for the kinetic coefficient of friction, the longer the distance. Well, speed. The higher the speed, the lower, because friction itself is completely opposite. Measuring coefficient of friction, something that has a really low coefficient of friction is something that's really fast. Like it doesn't take very much energy or force to pull that thing, so it makes it faster. So it's like it was a thing. Like I first started it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make this 0 to 10. It's super easy, right? Like coefficients of frictions are between 0 and 1. I can just multiply everything by 10. I'll have 0 to 10. And talking to people in their league, like, I don't get it. Why is a really fast bag a really low number? Like everything else is the complete opposite. And I was like, oh, man, okay. How do I do the math for this to make it work? So I've like progressively done stuff to really standardize it to where like we have a good scale. All of our speeds are based off of the measurements that we have. So everything's been standardized, and it's 0 is slow, 10 is fast. But we have nothing that's 0, and we have nothing that's a 10, because that would mean it's ice on ice, and it's just sliding with no friction at all.
All I know is that all that means is that once I figure out actually how to throw a bag and get it to actually push another one and actually hit it, I've got a lot more thinking I got to do, which is not my strong suit.
No, I mean, it's one of those like other things, right? It's like, do you push? Do you do an airmail? Do you do a blocker, right? Like there are all those kind of throws we talk about. But yeah, I took it to a new level. It's like, all right, we have this stationary speed and the sliding speed. And if your stationary speed and sliding speed are really similar to each other, that means you don't have to worry too much about having to throw extra hard to get it to slide. If it's sliding, it'll push that bag up pretty easily, as long as the value, like this value is like 7 or 8. But if it's like stationary speed is like super slow, but its sliding speed is like 2 points higher, it's going to be a bitch to get it moving. But once it's moving, it'll slide pretty easily.
I think it's a bitch just to try and get it to actually hit the other bag. But anyway, again, that is just me. That's just all my issues. But so, and I think kind of what you're doing is it's kind of brought a whole bunch of other people, for lack of a better term, into the game, because it's bringing that other element. Because let's face it, there's so many people who think, oh, you're just throwing bags in a backyard. It's nothing. But there is that whole other, and you can even go back to my whole checkers and chess thing, that you're bringing the chess right into it, because there's so much other factors than just throwing the bag.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just like, it is part of the chess, but I feel like I may just be the rook or the knight, right? Like I'm not necessarily redesigning the whole game. I'm just one of the pieces within it, because there's still people who have all of the different throws, and they know how to they understand how their bag works, and they understand how to throw a bag a certain way to get what they want, right? Like a flop bag. I have never been able to intentionally do a flop bag.
Not at all.
I watch people do it all the time. I'm like, kudos to you. Like this is super impressive. But yeah, like I'm just part of the piece. Like I've helped develop it from checkers to chess. But I can't say that I was the only one to make it a more advanced or more in depth of a game than it really was.
So, and I know that you've grown kind of immensely since we first talked that year and a half ago. So how many bags are you kind of doing now, or doing the testing for?
I mean, not gonna lie, it's like testing for bags has always been kind of a struggle. The biggest thing that I've been trying to do and get players and manufacturers to understand is we need a standardized scale, right? Like we need a standardized speed scale for all of the bags that are out there. Manufacturers really like having like their 5 and 9s on their page, but like for me, when I first started playing, I was like, those 5 and 9s for you don't match the 5 and 9s for somebody else. And that's hard for me, because I can't say these bags play the same. And that's where I really want to come in and like really help players like have that resource to be like, all right, I have a bag that I really like. It's on 6x6. Let's find something that has the same fabric, because I take pictures of every single fabric. So you can actually go through and be like, oh yeah, here's the same fabric on this bag. Let's find that bag, or let's find something that's like a similar speed, and like go in depth, because we have all that information for people to really make those informed buying decisions. But that's really what we came for, is like trying to help players buy bags and buy new bags and find something that meets what they want, from what they understand they've played with, instead of spending $200 on a couple sets of bags, getting them and being like, I hate these bags. I've broken these in. I can't play with them. I don't like how they are. And they did it from maybe some references from somebody or just straight from the manufacturer's website. And right, like, not to dog the manufacturers, but like if our speed scale 6x6's speeds were on the website, you could be like, okay, like these bags play at these speeds. And I know that there's another manufacturer who's on the 6x6 page and their speeds are on there as well. Like, I can actually compare them to one another instead of being like, oh, you say it's a 5 and 9, get them, be like, that's not my 5. Like, that's like an 8 for me. Like, I don't know how to compare this to anything. Like, this is way faster than I was hoping to get.
Well, and I think that comes into where some of the manufacturers are trying to get, because everyone wants those fast bags, because there was on a roll there for a while. Everyone needed the fast bag. So I think all the manufacturers are like, okay, we got the fastest bag. We got the fastest bag. Now there's a flop shot in there, and people are wanting the slower bags, and it's like, it's almost like you're seeing it's that whole cycle of evolution now with the bags. Like, are we going to be going back to duck cloth and canvas again? Right? It's,
I would love to see it. I would love to see it.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's, I think that's what it makes the game more interesting, is that there's so many types, and it's just, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. I love seeing all the different types of fabrics and all the bags that are out there. Like, I love seeing people knocking off other like big name bags, because they're like, I bought these. I went and found these fabrics at Joann's Fabrics. I can make them and get them out to you in a week with whatever design you want on them. And you don't have to worry about some big name on them. And they can even, like, I think of Feist bags out of Washington. All of their bags are ACL stamped, and you can get whatever you want on them. Like, their whole game is custom bags.
Yeah.
So I love how that they have that niche of being able to do that, and they have quality bags, and I love being able to like talk to them, and they're super good people. So it's cool that there's just so many bags out there, but there are a lot of bags that are exact same, and that's kind of where I'm hoping to like, hey, cool, you can go buy an Ultra and you may not get it for 3 weeks, or you can buy these Burley bags and get them next week.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing, like, and I don't want to dog my friends down in the Cleveland area, but they're having they had their contest out or their bracket style thing out, and there's you've seen a lot of good bags that were just getting hammered by another bag, just because I think it was more of a popularity contest than how people threw them anyway, right? But I think that's where you're probably helping, that these smaller companies, even like an Octane, that, I know Matt's doing a whole bunch of business, but he's still a small guy, that they have bags that are equivalent to these other big names for half the price, and not to say anything about someone else, but you're not waiting a year to get them. Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's, there's so many smaller companies that are like that just because they don't have the name, that bag quality is exactly the same.
Yeah. And I 100% agree. Like, I love getting these small manufacturers bags and like intention, like, I want your name out there, right? Like, I don't care if your bags or like the manufacturer's bags are ACL approved or not. Like, I just want to get bags from everybody, so that everybody's name's out there. But if somebody's looking for a specific bag, like, we have so many bags that are exactly the same because they're exactly the same, and they're just from a lot of different manufacturers. So yeah, it is always like this, oh, I have to have such and such bag. I was like, you don't, right? Like, there's something out there that looks exactly the same, half the price, like a significantly lower, like less like wait time for them. So like, why not do that instead?
Yeah. But it's, I don't know. It's that nature of the beast, I guess. It is what it is.
Yeah. But, and like, I understand people wanting, like, they want a specific design, and I get if they're like, yeah, I love Octane's logos and I love their designs, and that's why they always go with Octane. Or I love the cats because I just really like the designs of the bags. I totally get it. But if you're looking for a cat for the speeds of the fabrics, there's something out there. I guarantee there's something that's exactly the same, if not super similar.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So I guess I was going to say what's new coming up, but I think, and as we talked off here, there's so much bags now that are coming. Australia, I know. Kalle Akesson out of Sweden, he's starting to make his own bags. I know there's some of the guys in France that are starting to do their own bags, and and I think you could be busy with going international here soon.
I mean, I'm gonna have to get some more names because like I haven't heard them. That's awesome. Yeah, like I would love to get their bags on there to be like, hey, look, these guys in Australia are making the exact same bags that these guys in America are, and it kind of helps legitimize them of like, we're in Australia, we're making our own bags, and they're the exact same as all these big names in the U.S. Same with France and Norway and stuff. Like I would love, and like Sweden, like I'd love to be able to find a way to hook up with them and be like, let's do this, right? Like I want to help you get your name out there so that all of the United States knows that you're just as good as everyone else in the United States.
Well, exactly. I think that's where the ACL is helping, because I don't think it's all been fully announced yet, but there was a couple weeks ago where Trezor did the hinting of what could be coming up with the ACL with regards to Europe and Australia and possibly here in Canada too. But just then that will just open them up as well and be able to have them, their bags being able to play in the ACL if we can get them ACL approved as well too, right? And it's just it's, you know, I think it's, the bag market is just, I think it's like I said, the sky's the limit with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one thing. Like when I first started off, I was like, oh, I'm gonna totally get in the bag market. Like I think making bags would be awesome. And then like I started looking at how many bags were out there and just how many manufacturers were out there. I didn't want to jump in that boat full of stuff. I personally think that the bag market, like it's super saturated. Like there's manufacturers everywhere. I know that people have like their niches and like it's awesome. And if anyone who's making bags, like I commend you for the work you're doing. Like I've had to sit at the coffee table or the kitchen table and help sew and help fill bags for tournaments and stuff. Not my jam. Like I could not have done that. It was just like it was a little too monotonous for me. Where like this may be monotonous, but I'm like the only, besides the ACL, I'm the only show in town for testing bags to this level.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and you talk about, you know, getting into the market. I think for Matt with Octane, I think it was because, you know, getting bags up across the border was just so expensive that he just started doing that on his own up here, and all of a sudden that's just, you know, it's a guy that's now quit his job to do bags full time, and it's like, wow. That's and awesome. You see him, and it's you know, I look at him, I commend him for what he's done. Seeing him start from scratch, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. We actually, my girlfriend's been throwing the Octane Apexes. She loves them. Like they're awesome bag. I really like them. I don't typically play with like a suede bag, but if I do, it's usually those ones. I like that we usually use like throw-in bags, and they're like a throw-in bag. They're about the same like thickness, like hand feel, but somehow they, in like my word, like they're floppier and a little more hole friendly. So if you can get them close, like they just slide in a lot easier than those throw-in bags. So I love them. I have loved all of the Octane bags that I've got to test and just handle and stuff. Everybody that I've sold them to and stuff.
I may have to get him to get you to send you the new Apex SSs, because as PJ Sorrow says, they double as a pillow too. They're really soft and silky on the one side, and they double as a pillow. It's they're really good. But yeah, the Apex bags are the ones for me. And I know I probably doesn't want me saying this, but I got to test out some other new bags that could be for next year possibly, and they I'm starting to like those ones as well too. So there's not even a name for them yet. So, but
that's
but
awesome.
It's, you know, that's kind of what it is. Where, you know, it's almost like with all these different new bags coming out, it's like that R&D for the bag makers are just it's crazy.
And that's where like I'm trying to help out and get into it. Like I've gotten fabrics from a couple manufacturers, and for me, measuring fabric is a pure speed, like form of measuring speed. There are less variables that impact me measuring the speed. Like if you're pulling the bag and like it's getting wiggled, like it shifts how it's getting moved each time, and like the resin moves around inside. So there's like a lot more variables in the speed. There's a larger variation in the speed compared to when I'm measuring just fabrics. And I've gotten some fabrics, and it's one of those like, oh, cool, thanks for sending me fabrics. This is really helpful. And like, but I also have some people who are like, hey, can you help do R&D? And I was like, I'd love to, right? Like, I love doing this research. I'm going to give you all of the data that I get, and I'm working on a strategy for, like, I have a pile of fabric here, right? Like, I'm trying to figure out how to break these in, so that I can get a broken in speed for these fabrics. And once I get that, I'd be like, hey, guess what? I can now have broken in speeds if you send me your fabrics. And like that data can be available on the site. Like as soon as I can get it, like, yes, this is the equivalent of throwing a bag 300 times. Like the fabric's the same speed, like all of those types of things. So yeah, like I'm doing as much as I can to have like that next level of like, everyone's looking for a bag that's broken in and the speed for a bag that's broken in. And I'm doing what I can to give people that data so that it's more accurate than just a brand new bag.
Well, and you just said something that makes it like the whole bag thing. You can get all the fabrics down, but the resin, because there's different sizes, different textures. Some people mix they get a small little ones with bigger size ones, and that just you think you can get the one thing down with the material, and then let's just throw a whole bunch of different resin in each one of these different bags, and they're all going to act different again.
Oh, totally. I actually have a pile of like 25 or so different resins. Like some of them are similar, but it's different densities, different size, shapes, like all of these things, different firmnesses, like rigidity of them. And if I can get everything together, I'm going to make a standardized solid ball of each of the resins and show how each of them bounces, like, so you can see how much they deform, show the mass of each of them. So it's like, hey, here's 400 grams or 200 grams of this resin. Look at the volume of it compared to something else, right? And I'll probably have a pretty standardized thing of like, here's a ball bearing. This is how a ball bearing bounces. This is how much this is the density of the ball bearing. This is how much volume this ball bearing displaces. So you can see how different resins will impact bags. Just as you said, like there's resins that are more rigid, and more rigid resins bounce more. So if you have a bag that's completely full of like the super rigid resin, it'll hit and bounce a lot easier than if it's something that's like super soft resin, and it'll deform easier. It'll hit and like slide a little bit more because the energy is dissipated into the board. Mm-hmm. So I'm working on a study for that one as well. Like I'm got my full-time job, and this is like the side job. So it's like, all right, what things do I need to make? Like how am I going to make these? Like just working my way through the process.
Well, yeah, because like I'll put bags that have like, it feels like you got like boulders inside because the resin is so big. You can actually count each piece of resin in there. And then there's the other ones that that you got to put them in a bag, and they're all static, right? So then those being static, they've got to do something else in those things as well too, right? And if you get the smaller ones that if it's hanging in the hole, it may move a little more or take longer time to move, because that Jamie Cowan, JC Cornhole, that's his big thing. It's moving. The bag is always moving, and no, it's not. It's just your eyes. But that's the thing, though, that like I can keep saying it, but over and over again. But there's the variable for each bag is just It's almost like no two bags are the same, really.
No, it's super. Yeah, like just because. Even in one manufacturer making 100 bags, there's a chance that there may be two bags that are almost identical. But yeah, like weights can be slightly different just because you can never get the exact amount of resin, the size of the resin, if they're not always exactly the same. Yeah, so like you can never do it. It's like a snowflake.
Yeah.
But I think that's also part of what makes Cornhole awesome, right? And if you can figure out how each bag is just a little different, and you understand how those bags play differently, you can have a strategy based off of the bags you're playing with, right? You could have 1 through 4 in the bags, and be like, oh no, I want to do like this bag's a little bit like it wasn't sewn perfectly, so it's a little wider, and this will be a little floppier bag. So you want to throw that one second or third, right? Like having that like your lineup of your bags that you're going to throw, just like in baseball. Well,
and that's the other thing too, is we've had a few late night 2-3 a.m. conversations up at the Octane Garage where does Cornhole go with like a golf kind of strategy where you can have like 2 or 3 different bags in your bag, and for each shot you want to do, can you throw out that I need to throw a blocker, I'm going to grab this stickier bag, or I need to get a push, I can take a slicker bag out of my thing, but then they all have to look exactly the same, and then we get into all that. But it's it's could that be where Cornhole's going? And we don't know.
I think I mean, it could do that way, and if it was in the context of like golf, right? Like instead of a 27-foot course, you have a 100-foot course with obstacles in the way, and you got to have something that you got your driver and you got like your wedge, and like you have these bags that have special designs to them because like one's gonna slide further or one's gonna like you got that super sticky bag, it's gonna hit and stick, and like if you're playing against other people and you're like that guy's close to the hole, I got to push him out of the way but not push him in the hole, which would be pretty cool to see. That's an interesting concept for cornhole.
Well, we actually had a conference event here right before COVID came in. We were sitting in Peterborough at the Keystone Links golf course, and we were looking. It was full of snow, but we were looking outside. We're like, what about cornhole on a golf course, where you've actually got like the 50 feet? Well, instead of like the couple hundred yards, do like maybe like 100 feet or something like that, where you've got to actually make a couple throws to get there to put it in or something like that, because we've always said that cornhole could go like disc golf, kind of where the direction that they went, and that's
I totally agree.
That can be crazy as well.
I know. I mean, like in my reference for having like equating golf to like cornhole, it's more of you have different bags depending on how you're feeling, how you're playing, and the environment you're in, right? Like we'll be somewhere in a room with like 60 people and everybody's breathing and having a good time and talking. So the temperature goes up and the humidity goes up and then the boards slow down. So you have to pull out a faster set of bags so you can accommodate for that change in speed on the boards.
Well, and we hear that all the time with new players, because why is it when I play on this board here, the bags always zip off the back, but when I'm on this board here, the bags are more stickier? Well, it's because you're in the middle of the day, it's in the summer, and the sun's out, and that board is right beside the door, and this board here is in the back of the hall where the ACs are, cooking. So that's where you got the difference. You got the humidity with the door coming in, because I'm going to say watching tournaments from Florida, I see it all the time, where you got guys that could be on a roll and all of a sudden they get that board by the door and they're done.
Yeah. I mean, I even think about that in like just the context of like different finishes on boards, right? Like spar urethane to polyurethane, like polyacrylic, like all of these things have different chemical attributes to them, which also change how how the bag gets impacted on them. Like there's a board company here in just north of us in Portland, Oregon, who makes boards, but they have like 5 or 6 different finishes plus like a different coating they put on them, and like all of those will impact how the bags play. So they literally like they spray coat it, and they're like, all right, we'll sand it with like 120, 200, 400, 600, and like 1200, and each one of those is like a different speed that you could purchase from them. And then they have another one on top of that, which is like, well, here's our like infinite finish, and it's a weather resistant, like UV resistant finish and stuff like that. And they can do all of the same stuff to it. But it's ways like you can buy a board from them specific to what your play style is, right? Like, oh, I like these boards and I have this finish and I have these bags and I play perfectly on them. It's just right for me. So yeah, it's crazy to even think about how finishes change the speed.
Oh yeah, well, we were camping last year. Yeah, my regular cornhole partner and I were camping, and people across from us had like these boards that are made of PVC pipe material, right?
Oh, okay.
And it was like, okay, so these are playing totally different. But then, to get in your other thing, I was thinking too, with the different humidity, whatever. We're not even going to go into is your hand sweating and that they're getting in the bag, because like I said, you can just it's endless of what you can think of what could affect the bags.
Yeah, it really is. You totally have that. Like there's always something that's going to impact how you play, how the bag plays, stuff like that. Like, and that's why I'm just like, I wanted something that's like, here's a baseline.
Yep.
Like if it's hot and your bags are going to go faster, you move the speed of the bag from the website up a couple, and you'll have an idea of what it's going to be. Or if it's you feel like it's colder outside or like slower wherever you're at, take that down a couple, and you can have an idea of what bags you need to play with or like the range you're going to be playing in. Again, it's just like this pure baseline standardized scale that helps people understand how they're playing and understand what bags they want to buy.
Exactly. So where can people find out all of this wealth of knowledge that you have on bag material and resin and all that other fun stuff?
Well, resin's not out yet. I'm still working on it. That's it's a can of worms. Like I have to create these things to then melt the resin to then get the perfect sized balls. Then so that's going to take a while. I have to figure out how to make them still. But everything else is right here next to me if we're on video, but it's 6x6bags.com, all spelled out. So SIXBA, well, 6x6 bags. Man, I can't spell. I can't even read my own thing. So
I'll put a link down below in the description of the show here as well too, just to help people out. But
yeah, and then also Facebook at 6x6 bags. We have places where you can look at bags. There's a couple of them. So there's bag comparison charts, which is the pure data. And if you really, really want to, there's a link. If you hover over it, it'll drop down, and there's one that says comprehensive table, which is all of the data points for every single bag in one big spot. So you can filter everything at once if you really want to. We also have a Cornhole bag search. So even though all the data is in those tables, we have individual bags or individual pages for every single bag, which has all of the values plus pictures of every single bag. Front and back shows you like a close-up picture of the fabrics, the corner radius, the thickness. And then there's also, we talked about the break-in data that is also under the bag comparison charts. It's another option in the drop-down menu. It says break-in comparison. You can go through all that fun data and look at all of the things I did to break in some bags.
So we got to end it off here with your choice on what is the fastest bag out there that you've done.
Oh, man. The fastest bag to date that I feel and always put in hand, it's always a toss-up. And let me cheat a little bit because I have it here. So there's a couple Minnesota tailgate bags. The ones that always I think about it, and if I'm this is a fast bag, it is the Notorious Bag Pulse. And then there's a company out of Florida called Nature Coast Bags. And they have, it's almost the exact same fabric, but it's this pure synthetic, tight weave, plastic fabric, which you're that is just stupid fast. Every single time you have to have that perfect arc where it's hitting the bag at almost a 90-degree angle so it doesn't fly off the backside.
Mm-hmm. And then for those people who like to run the blockers, what's one that's that slowest bag that'll just, I know you're on with that guy that says that he's called the voice, but we know just what he is. He'll say the Jacqueline slide bag is the one that's the one. But what's your opinion on what could be the slowest bag out there?
Slowest bag. So going back to the site, slowest bag we have are actually octane bags because the Apex, the Clutch, and the Whole Shot all had that same micro suede, and those were the ones that actually came up as our slowest speeds. Besides that, there are a couple of the Feist bags that are super slow. The Wanted was really slow. I would go with a good blocker bag would actually be the Wanted bag because it was actually a thicker, firmer bag. So it's not going to deform as much if you do throw a bag into it.
Exactly. Well, you know what? Maybe that's my fault. I throw a really slow bag, but I've been trying to. They've been trying to get me to throw the Kinetics, which are a little fast for me, and even I've been playing around with the new Energy bags, which is the carpet style bag that Octane has just put out. So we're hoping to get some more of that. But I want to thank you for coming on and doing this here and talking some. I want to say cornhole science because that's someone else's thing, but it's still the science. We'll call it the science of cornhole because it's not just a backyard game anymore.
That's true. It's very true. Yeah, we're just hoping everybody make a better bag decision.
And that's and that's all you can do is just you can lead them to your thing and let them choose yourself. Because I always said, for someone, don't throw the bag because this pro throws it or that pro throws it. You've got to be Goldilocks and just try every bag out there and get the perfect one for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no one throws the same. Everybody has personal preferences. You may find something that somebody else throws that you like, but you can always find something. There's always going to be something out there that you like. But yeah, so one last thing. So on our website, if you go to the bag comparison charts as well as each individual bag page, there are these sweet buy it now buttons, and any manufacturer that references your podcast will actually get those buy it now links for free if they send us bags to get tested.
Perfect. So hopefully some other ones will get on there and get you some more bags to test out to keep you busy, to keep stuff going. So again, I want to thank you for coming on and doing this, and let's not wait another year and a half to have you back on talking some more stuff here.
Yeah, definitely. I know we could do some shorter ones when I get some more little studies out, and we can show the different resin balls and how they bounce, and I do a little bit of explanation of how that impacts your bag as you play with it.
Well, maybe. Well, you might think it just because Matt hates me for this because I just think off the top of my head all the time. But maybe just at the start of each season with the new bags that have come out that you've tested, we'll come and we'll talk about that. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, if I can get to the point where I'm getting new bags each season, I would love to do that.
Well, all the bag manufacturers, especially Meek, I know you watch this show. Local bags, get your stuff to JD and get it on his site. So again, thanks for doing this, and we'll be talking soon.
Definitely.
And I want to thank JD for coming on, doing that there. I love talking cornhole. I love talking bags. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm not the most scientific guy. I'll leave all that data stuff up to JD and up to if you're watching on YouTube, Corbin does a great bag review thing. I know the Asp brothers down in Cleveland do their bag review. I'm a talker. I just talk and throw. You tell me what the bag does. I will try and do it. Probably not. Although I did score some points on Jamie Cowan the other night. 3 roll bags. I maybe not have meant to throw the roll bags, but I threw 3 roll bags on one end. Pretty impressed with myself. He wasn't, but I was. Yeah. So thanking JD for coming on, doing that there, because we all got to know what our bag's doing. Yeah. So that I think that's it for the show. We've probably got on. You've been sitting here or listening for like an hour, thinking, "Geez, this guy's gonna shut up." Whatever. But have some fun. Instagram. Check out. I figured out my first reel, and as former guest, the barbecue master of cornhole, Mr. Brad Billard said, "At least you admit it took you 30 minutes to do that, to figure out how to do that reel." But hey, hope you guys like it. Other than that, I'm out. Check ACL Canada. Keep checking ACL Canada Facebook page for more info on what's coming up with the Open. I know there's going to be some more info coming out. It's going to be huge. Huge, I tell you. This will be the biggest cornhole event in Canada so far. Like I said, if you want to be where cornhole's at, it's ACL Canada, because there's no place like it that to actually play cornhole within Canada. So other than that, I'm done for this week. Tune in next week. I'm going to have a fantastic show for you. I'll say watch out for. I'll go live Thursday night. How about that? Talking about what's going to happen with the show. I'll be on location talking about the show Thursday night. I will say that. If I'm not on location, I'll still come on talking live. So, as always, watch out for those players throwing gas, because they might, they might just kick your ass.